Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning is a game that I am very fond of. I played the original in 2012 with my friend Charlie. We played it for one afternoon and got 10 hours into it. We would take turns playing, and while the other was waiting, they would play League of Legends. Seeing the game got a remaster, I decided to finish what I started 10 years ago. It took me over 50 hours to beat it, and that is before we get to the newest DLC, Fatesworn, which I'll get into later. Combat-wise, you've got access to a block, dodge, a weapons attack which performs a combo when used repeatedly, and your spells. At the start, the combat is fun, but honestly, after 50 hours, it's just not. I got access to the meatball spell, which devolved every combat encounter into one button press. After that, it just became a story on rails as I breezed through every single combat encounter. The bosses were in no way different to any other fight. Use consumables, activate fate ability, press meatball, which would one-shot all the bosses. The final boss, where you fight the big bad, was also an uninspired encounter. I played the game on hard difficulty, and at no point was the game challenging in any way. The RPG elements are there though. I really enjoyed leveling my character, upgrading my spells, earning new twists of fate from certain quests. These were just stat boosts. Messing around with the different crafting systems. By the end of the game, the gear I was able to create was better than anything I was finding, which made investing those skill points in blacksmithing feel rewarding. There are two main quest storylines called The Legend of Dead Kel and Teeth of Naros. I was unaware they were DLC quests when I went in, so I initially treated them as side quests to the main story. All the DLC from 2012 is included in the 2020 Fatesworn edition. They were both a lot of fun with quite harrowing stories that guide you through them. However, the Teeth of Naros, which has this really bright, really cool floating rocks aesthetic, but you spend most of your time in this really large and frustrating to navigate sewer. The main story of the area is pretty cool as you help this murderous megalomaniac achieve his goal of annihilating his own people so he can rebuild from scratch. The Legend of Dead Kel I wouldn't say is half as good as the Teeth of Naros story, with I think most of my time spent in the area was building up my player house. More on this later. You travel to this island because this guy, Dead Kel, is apparently killing a lot of people. On arrival, we see him murder one guy who we have no attachment to. There was no point that I would say I ever felt the need to be chasing him. There was no sense of urgency, just didn't care, went along with things because I was playing the game. Choices don't actually matter. There is the same story ending for everyone as the person with infinite abilities and the ability to change fate. Ironically, you don't have any freedom of choice here. There was a quest line where I had to find materials to build my own castle, and while the actual quests themselves were super lame, go fetch these 3 items in 3 locations, come back to me, then wait 1 day, and repeat. But I still did them because it was really cool building a castle, then finding NPCs around the island and sending them to my castle to come work for me, where they then became vendors with which I could trade with. The whole system was really cool, but it wasn't when I had to do it the second time. However, it was at this point where I started to have the feeling that some of these quests felt like I was playing an MMORPG, and it took a very long time for me to actually understand this feeling. Playing Kingdoms of Amalur feels like you're leveling a character for the 4th time in an MMO. The story quests drag you on this linear line leading you to different towns or quest hubs with loads of side quests, which for the most part are go there, kill this, or walk there, fetch that. And on doing research for this video, I found out why that is. They were actually making an MMO. Back in 2010, 38 Studios got a $75 million tax bond from the state of Rhode Island. 38 Studios was then going to make 2 games, Kingdom of Amalur Reckoning and Kingdom of Amalur MMO. Then, in 2012, Kingdom of Amalur releases and sold 1.2 million copies, which didn't break even with the original bond from Rhode Island, who needed their $75 million investment back, which killed the MMO from ever coming out. Kingdoms of Amalur was only ever meant to be creating hype for the MMO, so it never got its big payday. Here's a meatball montage. Please enjoy. There are some bugs, I'll try show off a couple here as I'm talking, but nothing game breaking. The environmental sound design, I will say, is awful. You'll be in this deep dark cave hearing a boat creaking at 10 times the volume of everything else. And sometimes you can be Forrest Gumping your way somewhere and there will be silence, no ambient music, just your character's footsteps. It's a bit weird. The only time I would die was to traps on the ground, and this was incredibly frustrating as the game's autosave feature is rubbish. It only ever autosaves on entry location sometimes. So if you don't manually save every 2 minutes and rely on the autosave feature, you could lose up to 10 minutes of progress where you would have to repeat everything you have just done. So honestly, if you're playing and you die, forcing you to go back like at least 10 or 15 minutes, I wouldn't blame you if you just quit. Moving on to the Fatesworn DLC, which was released 10 years from the base game. The very first quest I come across is dealing with a border control issue. Cool. It makes you go through a loading screen multiple times. Why? It's so unnecessary. Just put the quest lady on the other side of the loading screen. The new location is new. Let me experience the new location. Stop making me go through this loading screen. Then I find some cool armor pieces with very cool set bonuses. One lets you summon little boggarts, one summons an ice wolf which replenishes your arrows, and one lets you charge up a big attack by infinitely parrying minions. So I then spend a lot of time collecting all the new item sets and exploring the world. Only now, at the end of the game, do I feel punished for having done so. In order to progress, I need to collect another armor set, rendering all the others useless to beat the final boss. If I'd known I wouldn't be able to use all the armors, I wouldn't have spent the time looking for them. I don't understand why you would add in all these cool armor sets only to force me to use a different one right at the end. The game in the final 3 hours introduces chaos enemies who have 2 health bars. First, the chaos health bar, which you need to damage with your chaos weapon before you can damage their actual health bar. So for every single enemy, you need to first attack them before your spells will be able to do any damage. This mechanic is so frustrating to deal with, as targeting specific minions isn't a simple thing to do. So I can no longer use the armor I want to, and my preferred playstyle is now obsolete. The chaos enemies aren't even different. It's the same enemies you've been fighting for the last 50 hours, but purple. And the new chaos portals, where you must enter the portal and look for the seed and destroy it to escape, all look and function the same. It's just so much lost potential. Why not have unique enemies with Zelda-like dungeons and a boss fight at the end of each one fighting some kind of chaos lord? I'm so close to the end of the game, but I'm just so frustrated at this mechanic I almost didn't finish. The final boss fight was pretty cool. I finished all my potions, so it was nerve-wracking right at the end. The finale though, the final ending of the game. What? Thanks? I guess? I'm not going to spoil it. If you're ever going to get there, you'll know what I mean. For 2012, this game was exceptional. But now, if you're going to spend 50 hours or more playing a game, you've just got better choices. If the enemy variety changed any aspects of the combat, then I might change my mind. If the bosses were in any way interesting to fight, then I definitely would change my mind. At bare bones, it's a point-and-click adventure with the same 3 songs playing on loop. If you're looking for a game with a very decent story and great voice acting, then this is for you. Otherwise, no. My review for this out of 10 is QuickTime Event out of 10. Thank you all so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, it really means a lot. Leave a comment for any game you would like me to review next. See ya!